Jumping right in, Rahul Gandhi's recent press conference on alleged vote theft in Haryana has sparked another storm. He's not just making vague accusations. This time, he says over 2.5 million votes were stolen and claims to have proof. Did you catch all the details he laid out?
I have to admit, it was wild seeing the sheer scale of what he described. He wasn't just talking numbers, he broke down methods, examples, and even waved data around, from duplicate voters to bizarre cases like a Brazilian model supposedly voting in 10 places. It's the kind of claim that grabs headlines, but also leaves a lot to unpack.
Exactly. And before we get into Rahul's specific points, I think it's worth setting the stage. Haryana politics has always moved fast from INLD's dominance before 2005, Congress ruling through 2009, to BJP's surge in 2014. But every election since has had its own drama. Did you notice how alliances and splits played a huge role in the recent cycles?
Absolutely. The entire JJP story is a prime example. Dushyant Chautala rising with the promise to oust the BJP, only to end up allied with them. It set up a lot of frustration. And when the farmer protests hit, especially with Haryana's involvement, public anger was crystal clear. You could almost sense a shift coming in 2024, but then BJP gets a majority. That's where the shock factor kicks in.
So here's where things get really interesting or confusing. Rahul puts forward a bunch of examples. Duplicate voters, invalid addresses, and those bulk voter houses where 500 people are supposedly registered at a single address. He even claims some leaders have double voter IDs across states. What stood out to you in all this?
The bulk registration numbers honestly threw me. Imagine walking up to a house and finding 100 or 500 registered voters, but nobody actually there. And then there's the blurred-out photos on voter rolls. How do you verify anyone if you can't even see their face? That seems like a massive loophole for fraud, if it's really happening.
Yeah, those examples are jaw-dropping. But I couldn't help but wonder, how reliable is the data from the Election Commission here? And how exactly does someone verify if a random address with 0 as a house number is legit or not? It honestly feels like the more details Rahul throws in, the more questions pop up about the real process.
I'm with you. He says his team tracked down specific people, even showing a house to prove it wasn't just some street dweller as official records claimed. But let's be real, finding one person in a state of 20 million is a feat, but verifying hundreds without exhaustive documentation? That's a whole other challenge. Still, some of these loopholes, like duplicate photos or bulk voters, definitely need answers from the authorities.
And there's another layer to all this, the mismatch between exit polls and actual results. Rahul made a big deal about exit polls predicting Congress wins, but the results flipping in BJP's favor. Do you think exit polls are really that reliable, or is this just another political tool?
I've always been cautious about exit polls because, while they're snapshots, they aren't the final word. Still, almost every major exit poll leaning Congress, and then BJP sweeping the results, it's bound to make people suspicious, especially after a turbulent few years with protests and shifting alliances. The contrast feels like more than just statistical error.
It's the kind of gap that feeds into public distrust, especially when tempers are already high. And Rahul's point about postal ballots was also pretty sharp, Congress dominating there but lagging in regular votes. That kind of pattern really does make you pause and ask what's going on behind the scenes.
Plus, when you throw in the ongoing court debates and Rahul's push for the Election Commission to act, it all adds up to a pretty messy picture. Honestly, if even a fraction of these claims are true, it's a wake-up call for everyone to demand tighter checks and more transparency.
Funny thing is, instead of marching to the Supreme Court with all this, Rahul seems to keep things in the public eye, almost like he's building pressure outside the legal process. Why do you think he's holding back from a full-blown legal confrontation?
That's what puzzles me. Maybe he's not fully confident in his proof, or maybe it's strategic sometimes. Just keeping the controversy alive serves a political narrative, especially with elections around the corner in places like Bihar. But as the opposition leader, he really is expected to push for accountability, not just air grievances.
Exactly. Ultimately, the buck stops with the Election Commission to ensure fair elections, but a strong opposition's job is to keep the heat on and demand answers. At the end of the day, the public just wants clarity. Were the allegations real, or is it all just election season drama?
That's the bottom line facts, not just noise. Whether it's 25 lakh fake votes or just bad paperwork, voters deserve honesty. And if the authorities can spend crores on political perks, surely they can fund a proper investigation when the stakes are democracy itself.